सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धे भवतु मे सदा वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं हरि ओम्. Yes, so Raghavi ji has suggested, I think from her father, he wanted to discuss, but I think he is not well today, so he will not be able to join us. But the topic was suggested by Raghavi ji on fate and free will in continuation to our Gita talks. In the last week, we had seen what was Samatha. Now, this topic of fate and free will, this is actually a very interesting aspect. Whether is everything already predetermined in nature? What is the role of the human? And what does the Gita say? What does the Gita tell us about it? As human beings, do we have a say? Do we have some amount of free will, or is that also just Maya, an illusion? So, that is the topic for today. Before we begin, I request everybody to maybe share something about this question of, do we have free will? Anybody? What do you think? If you can share something, some light, and then we'll probably go on. Yes, anybody? What do you think of this topic? Because there is fate, there is destiny as well. Do we have a
Uh,
choice, or we? Yes, ji, Shashi ji. Yes, please.
we always have a choice, but
Okay.
it's all within a framework.
Okay.
Um, things are already in place, as I understand, but we do have a choice and we can make changes to
Mhm.
anything we think, we act. We always have a choice to improve. So if, like we say, karma, past karma, so this is going to happen. We have to pay our debts, if not in this life, next life. But whichever life follows next, we always have a choice to change, and therefore the results can change. They can become more negative or more positive, depending on how we act, react, think, or change ourselves. So we
So
always have a choice, but the guidelines are already in place.
that we have a limited choice
We have a
up to it.
limited choice, but it's up to us to make that choice, good or bad, and then reap the reward or not reap the reward.
Like, say, if I want to eat a particular dish, but my mother says you have a choice only to choose between two dishes which you don't want.
It's like
Sometimes it,
having diabetes. You're
okay,
not
yeah,
really supposed to make your health worse, but sometimes you think, okay, I want that laddu, but that
okay,
laddu is really going to. So you can make a choice just to have a little bit, just to
okay,
say, I've had it, and
all
that's it.
right,
So
Ji,
you are
all right,
best of both worlds.
okay, all right. Thank you, Shashi ji, for that insight. Alpana ji, Vijaya ji, and Monik ji, what would you like to say on this? So, Shashi ji is quite clear on her aspect that she says we do have a choice, we do have a say in this aspect of some free will is there. Yes,
So,
Vijaya
Vijay,
ji
I
or
believe that
Alpana ji, yes, please. Please tell me.
I feel that we have no free will, frankly
We
speaking,
have, so
because
everything.
sometimes we try to exercise option A, which you feel you want, you like, but
Hmm.
somehow it doesn't work. And then normally this is what I do. I want that, but if it is God's wish, also I know that I will get it. Otherwise, I will not get it. So I try my best, and then after there are certain feelers or something. Intuitions
Hmm.
that this is not the path for me and I should not do this, so then I choose the option B, which I may
But
not
yeah,
be
that
very
is
happy
like
with.
you are being forced to choose it, isn't it? You don't have an option there.
No, it's not forced to choose it. You are See, you have two options which are equally good, but you don't like, because liking and not liking is, your man ka problems. Yeah. The
Okay.
buddhi might tell you that, option B is only the best, but still, you want to try that option A because you like it. But then it's not forcing, something, but you're not willing to accept it, is what I feel. So you try your best to choose the option which you want, but after that, it doesn't work out. It fails invariably, or it doesn't give you that much success which you had expected. And then you come back to option B, and it picks up like, that's a speed which is God's speed. So things happen fast. This is what been my
So
experience.
individual will, Alpanaji, individual will is not very powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not powerful at all.
In the face of God's will.
The niyati or the destiny, whatever it has
Hmm.
in store for you, that same thing will happen, is what I believe.
So that is what that does indicate we don't have a choice in a way because that is this like predetermined by n number of factors, isn't it?
Correct. So I have a choice, but I have exercised my choice in option A, but it didn't work out. It didn't give me what I had aimed
So
for.
means we are
Mm.
bound by what has to happen
Yes.
in a way,
Yes.
isn't it,
That is what I
Alpanaji?
believe. Yeah, I believe
Okay,
that.
all right.
Mm.
Okay, Alpana ji is saying on is another is given her insight, and it does seem to indicate that like what Shashi ji said, there is a choice. Alpana ji says probably we have some to some extent, as Shashi ji also said, but that some extent also is not really useful because some things are predetermined. Anybody else would like to add something about it before we go a little bit into this subject? Yes, Vijaya ji.
Namaste ji.
Yes.
I see this last week's sloka. I was thinking on this. So,
Hmm.
what came to my mind is as I was just typing, I gave that example. Typing is my choice. The content is my choice, but the laptop and the brand gives me some restricted choice inside which I have to work on my content. For example, if my choice is about the laptop, then it deserves like I have to go to a shop and see varieties of laptops, and according to the budget, again there comes one more constraint like a budget, where that's a constrained thing, but I'm choosing a laptop within that budget is again my free will. Coming back again to very nominal things like cooking competition, the topic is set. For example, whatever the ingredients they set is like, yes, it's there already, you can't change it, but how do I cook it, how do I present it makes a difference. So I feel that God has given me some template based on karma or whatever it is. With that, accepting his love, accepting whatever he gives me as a good thing, I start enjoying and being myself. So that is where my free will comes up, when I trust him. But in case I don't trust him, I feel why I am only getting this much like this, everybody else is going all that way, only I get this. In that case, what I do is I feel myself, put myself in terrible scenario. So when Krishna is being believed, you get that point of free will. If you don't believe in him, you get tension again, you get into that constraint where you think you don't have a choice at all and you have to keep on running like a flow.
So, okay, so the individual, again, Vijayji, the individual will is quite limited. It does appear, isn't it, compared to the divine will?
Absolutely, divine will is totally
Um,
unmatchable, but he gives us some choice for us to choose. That is for
to
sure.
move
But
away.
only when we really start loving either him or our duty or something like that. When you have the full focus on something and love towards something without expecting anything, we get that will being getting executed easily. So we can see that
Mhm.
difference.
All right, all right. So I think Vijayji also, I think everywhere we understand, everybody is on the same page on this aspect that the divine will is really supreme. Anybody else would like to add something if you wish to? Otherwise, we go ahead then. So now, individual will and God's will. This becomes the biggest question actually, because we don't really know what is God's will many times. We know what is our individual will, and then that is where the entire life experiences come. I remember my mother reading out a statement to me. It was, I think, by the mother or shares, and I'm not able to exactly recollect. I'll try to find that statement. But my mother just told me one line. She said, if God's will and your will does not match, you will have trouble. You have to struggle a lot. And this was a very interesting color for me at what time it was told. That was when I was planning for my higher studies, my master's after my mechanical engineering. I mean, I had not completed my engineering. My mind was already traveling quite ahead beyond its capacity, probably. But so I was desperately trying to get a particular college for what was renewable energy, and I had scouted so many universities across various countries. Whichever country, I just wanted to go out, and that was my entire aspiration. Whether it was in the Netherlands, also UK, also different countries, I just saw it, and I was facing really weird hurdles. Like I had to go. At first, I was not very well versed with the banking. It was when I was probably just 21, just before joining Damleji. And I did not know much about banking. I had to go and make a transfer and then send a particular document. The document reaches exactly 1 day late. So I have to again pay an extra fee because it is late. Or the IELTS certificate which I got, I had to send originally from the issuing organization that came late. Like different places. Another place they replied to me in a foreign language which I didn't understand. And I was feeling, what is this? And when my mother said this to me, she saw me under like tremendous pressure. I got disturbed. Disturbed, and more than disturbed, I got angry. Angry with whom? Not my mother. Angry with God only. What business does God have in between my higher studies aspiration and my, as a student, I have the right to study and learn. How can God not want me to study and learn and go in a particular direction? And that was something I didn't understand at all. And that created a lot of frustration inside of me. What is God's will? How can God's will not be about me studying and doing my master's course? That was my biggest frustration. And maybe later on, it took some time to understand it. So many experiences had to come, and I had to run out of steam, had to fall on my face. And then that was where I understood that, yeah, the highest will of the divine always prevails over what is the individual will. But this really puts a big question on, if God's will is only going to prevail, what should I do? Or why should I do anything? Is there any role of my doing anything? Anybody?
Sorry, would you repeat the last question, please?
If God's will is going to prevail ultimately, what is the role of individual will? Should I even have an individual will? Or how can I
Well,
move ahead, and what will be my motivation and drive to do something?
well, unless one acts, one is
Yeah,
not going to get any results at
yes.
all. So if the law of karma is going to be put into effect, then one
But
has to have some kind of, one
yes,
has to
yes.
act in order to either receive or not receive
Karma. Hmm.
fruits, right?
Okay. All right. So you have to do better doing something than doing nothing, isn't it?
Yes.
Doing works will allow you to move ahead. If you're doing nothing, you're going to probably lower yourself further from a bad situation to probably worse situation. But then the law of karma we talk about, sometimes that only becomes very confusing. And then you go and meet certain jyotishis, astrologers. They tell you this particular graha, you have been born under the influence of this. This is your prarabdha. This is an extra baggage that you don't know what you have done, but now you've got to carry it all life. This is going to happen. This is going to be your fate. You will experience this only. Nothing can be changed. And when that is said, suddenly the entire will and the enthusiasm and everything gets punctured, isn't it? How
Mm.
do we deal with this? What is prarabdha? What if I am only destined to move in a 100-meter race only for 5 meters? I'm destined to move only 5 meters ahead. If that is destiny, where is the individual will? What do we do with such things? Because many times people say, Prarabdha, this is from my, I have done a lot of sin in my past life, that's why I'm suffering right now. And this life, I'm going to continuously suffer only. Is this an attitude that is worth carrying?
No, it's a very negative attitude because then you're going from there to there all the way down. Got to
Yeah.
have faith somewhere along the line
But
in
faith,
one's, in God. When you're totally down, we just sort of look up, don't we? So somewhere along the line, the faith has to be there that a hand will come and pull us up.
yeah,
And
but
then,
the question is, faith in God is sometimes a very tricky situation for many. Sometimes, if one is in a very bad situation, I remember one participant in the Gita class sharing to me his experience. He said, I am in a very bad debt. That debt has come from his father investing in some building, which some property, real estate, where some development was done, and some vultures or politicians came into that project and they spoiled everything. And then the father also, he said, I've seen my powerful and strong father suddenly become so weak, and I have now incurred a debt which is my father's debt. I have done nothing. But if I work for the next 10 to 12 years of my life, I will be able to repay a significant portion, not even the entire portion of that debt. And I have nothing right now other than this, and I am not able to sleep at night. I have insomnia, having hypertension, all these problems. Just tell me, how is the Bhagavad Gita going to reduce or wipe away this debt? That was a simple question he asked me. Sometimes we feel very, very overwhelmed with the situation. Before I tell you what was his movement ahead, what happened afterwards, because sometimes there is a raw imposition of some will of nature, of
mm,
Prakriti onto all of us,
mm,
which becomes too much. Like the imposition of nature suddenly makes us feel that I am nothing. I have no individual existence. There is no what divine is inside of me. I am already subjected to this pull and limitations and bandhanas of nature, maybe my prarabdha, some other aspects, so many factors. I am far too insignificant as an individual to even stand against these forces because Prakriti puts on everybody. Everybody goes through this cycle. They say Kaumaram, Yauvana, Jara, childhood, youth, old age, and each of these accompanies with a set of n number of factors, which again weigh a person down. A child is naive without experience. The youth is having a lot of energy but not the experience. And the one who has experienced a lot has now not having the energy to do certain things, but the
mm.
experience is there. So how does one wade through is a big question. Or just let's say other four truths, as Krishna says: Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, birth, death, old age, disease. These are four truths in life. Nobody can escape. No philosophy in the world can tell you that this is not existing only, or you are independent of this imposition of nature. Again, there also we feel, what am I doing right now? How can I ever? Is there a person? Is there somebody who is going to set me free, or am I just another instrument in a big orchestra playing somebody else's set to play, and I have nothing to do there. Somebody else is going to use me, and that is the end of my story. Sometimes it becomes very difficult to even understand. When you look at the Gita, some places we're introduced to the deep and dense concept of Maya. And how does a person, he says the world is, Krishna says the world is hoodwinked by Maya. It has never pondered upon the truth of the divine because it's too busy. And everybody is made to move like machines. Brahman sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. Like a yantra, like an instrument, everybody is pushed around. If all this is the case, Then comes the biggest question. What is it? What is it that is inside of me that can free me? Is there something inside of me that can free me? That is the biggest question. Because am I free? That is to realize that then there must be some source of strength for that freedom, some aspiration. And that is exactly what is the Chaitya Purusha, the psychic being which is present inside every individual. Krishna says that is present, Hrudi Sannivishtam, in the heart of every living being is that Purush, that being. That being calls the shots. Probably our freedom means every other freedom that we think we have is actually like, as Sri Aurobindo also says, the 9/10 of the freedom is fiction. 9/10 of the free will that we think we have is fiction, is what Sri Aurobindo has written. Everything else is just, it is just an interaction of gunas. Rajas, tamas, sattva. Most of the time you will see these gunas at play. Somebody tells something, you hear it, you react to it, then you behave very nicely to somebody. You think you are being sattvic, but you have rajasic expectations that I behaved so nicely, that person must reciprocate. And reciprocation does not come, and then immediately we react in a very different manner, forgetting that whatever sattvic mask that we were wearing, that falls off because rajasic expectations have not got fulfilled. And then that sorrow comes in and we get into tamas. So this is something like that. These gunas keep playing. These gunas, rajas, tamas, sattva, they are continuously moving around, and we are like instruments being driven by that. The only freedom that we have, even Sri Aurobindo says, is that in recognition of the divine will, in becoming aware of the divine will and becoming available to the divine will. The Bhagavad Gita is clearly the same thing. Arjuna, in the worst situation, in the biggest of frustrations of life, he is trapped, not knowing what to do, not understanding a way out, because this is a huge imposition upon him. It is like a catch-22 situation. Take part in the battle, get killed, or get your loved ones killed. Who is going to choose? How is one going to choose? And that is where he feels this is the end of the road for him. And slowly Krishna says, he says, Nimitta matra bhava savya sachin. Become my instrument and let your arrows rain. What is that instrument? The instrument of the divine. But like as Sri Aurobindo said, 9/10 of the free will that we think we have is just an illusion of Maya. So many times we think we are following God's will, but when we are actually following our own will. Many times people get certain experiences and that experience immediately because of our human. We have a human nature inside of everyone. We are human. But that human nature is sometimes hiding the divine nature. It is eclipsing the brilliant sun also. The sun of the divine. That is getting eclipsed, and that is the greatest imposition. Does Krishna like strawberry cake? We don't know. But somebody who likes strawberry cake might be eating that cake and saying, see, Krishna's wish was that I eat strawberry cake. That happens so many times because the personal aspects. But then if it is Krishna who is going to, because Krishna says, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarva loka maheshwara. I am the Bhoktar. I am the Bhokta. I am in every living being. I am relishing and taking the joy. If it is really Krishna's wish that he wants to taste the strawberry cake through you, probably you have to be aligned with him and he will take you and he will give you the greatest experience. Meaning the aspect of getting imposed or getting controlled by Maya and moving around, driven by the force of Maya, is actually a complete waste. If we are driven by Maya, we have no free will. If we are driven by these impositions of lower nature, lower Prakriti, we have no free will. But if the rare of the rarest ones, realize that yes, inside of me is that Chaitya Purush, that divine being, that psychic being who is in direct communion with Krishna, that Ansha of Krishna is inside of me only. The same Ansha of that great Vishwarupa is also inside of me. And that understanding, not by mental understanding, by a sakshatkar or by an experience, or sakshatkar and experience is very difficult, and many people sometimes, again, there also it is a half understanding, pseudo understandings come in. I got realization. So many people I've heard, they've said, I've got realization. One young boy in a school that I went to give a talk, he said, I just said, let us look at a technique of meditation that Krishna has taught. That was for everybody, a generalized one. Let us try it for a few minutes. And the child, then after the few minutes of meditation, we asked, what did you feel? How did you experience? The child said, I already meditated many times and I've already got realization. So the child in 8th class or 9th class has already got to Sakshatkar. Now what is there? Well, is that a Sakshatkar or it is a illusion of a Sakshatkar? Because I am not denying the possibility. A young Adi Shankaracharya was asked, who are you? By someone he didn't know. See, he also had this understanding of himself where he beautifully said, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. He says, so the full Atma Shatakam is the Nirvana Shatakam also, it is called. It is the realization of the self. Mano buddhyankara chittani naham nacha shrotra jivve nacha grana netre. He just goes on and on. He says, even says, na bandhur na mitram gurur naiva shishyam. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivam. He did not know he's telling it to his guru only. Because later on that person becomes his guru, yeah. And he is the guru he was searching for. That is the arrangement brought about by the divine. The Shishya and the Guru's union, which is said to be a supreme cosmic union, which happens very rarely in one's life. It is very, very privileged that that meeting takes place. That is arranged by the divine only. But for that, certain factors have to be aligned. And that, like that, that aligning of factors, that aligning of the forces, we must realize, and that can happen through surrender to the divine. Without surrendering, yes, Chatrilakaji, Maji wants to say something, is it?
No, sir.
No, all right, Ji. Then I just mute you. If you want to, you can unmute. So the aspect of free will, we must experience freely the readiness to give up our free will to the divine. If we can do that, then we are going to be friends with the divine only. If we are free enough, we are so free. We are totally free from this clutches of Maya, which keeps telling you, isn't it? Maya is force. It is always ready to ensnare. You need this much money to become free in life. How much money is required to become free in life? Anybody?
Enough to pay the bills and a bit more, that's it. One doesn't have to roll in
But how
wealth.
much is that? Because if bills have to be paid, I need amenities also. And then I need to, the temperatures are changing, so I need a better quality of air conditioner.
That is up to the individual how much he wants to put in
Yes.
his
But if a person does not have money, can that person be free without money?
sure, there are all these big shoes, aren't there? They have
Ah,
nothing
yeah,
else.
big shoes. Yes, yes, yes. It
They
is
don't
like,
worry about their food. They'll
yes,
go with their patra, ask for
yes.
food. If they get, they eat. They don't get, they don't eat.
Yes, yes. So again, it is not that this particular factors on the outside are a necessary factor for us to become free. And again, becoming free does not mean losing all the connections with the world, because if that is again a kind of rejectionism, isn't it? That is completely rejecting the universe. Yet, this freedom is like the freedom of what Krishna talked about. The freedom that Krishna himself had, isn't it? The great Raja says, I'll become the charioteer. I mean, if that time there were these tabloids on page three, that would be full page. Krishna, he is now a charioteer. What is this? What is your opinion? Then another person would have put something else because everybody is very much worried about the outer aspects. And in their worries, for their worries, they don't understand that desires are born because of the gunas. The attachments takes place without their knowledge. Sometimes these are noble desires also, but noble desires are also desires. And then it starts, it's like a root. Anybody has seen a banyan tree grow on a building anytime? At least in Bharat, we see that very often. Anyone? Cement structures.
In pictures.
Yes, Ji.
Yes, yes, we have seen. Yeah.
Alpana
People
ji
tree
said
coming
yes.
out of the people tree coming out of building constructions.
People also,
Mm.
Vatavruksha also comes from there, Ashwatha also you can see
Mm.
suddenly going out. And it is like that sometimes. I mean, these are all very special trees, actually, these are sacred trees. The
Mm.
scientific name is also Ficus religiosa. So it is a very sacred tree, yes. But in a building, structure of a building, if the tree starts growing, what's going to happen? That building is going to collapse sometime or the other. It's going to upset the entire place. Of course, if you see some of the Bharatiya temples, they have been so beautifully constructed that together the temple is also there and the tree is also there growing together. But if you look at it, sometimes noble desires also start. The karta bhava, no? The doer, when you realize, even yesterday in the last session we saw about samatha. Samatha comes, the balance, the oneness comes when you realize you are not the doer, the divine is the doer. But many times out of desires, because I want this project to be successful, I am the team leader, I am the project in charge, I am the manifester. I am the Almighty also will come without knowing into our head because I only can do it right. And that is where the entire fall takes place. Krishna talks about Asha, Pasha, Shatair, Baddhaha, 100 bonds of desire, and that being is enslaved into the trap of desires. And then the person is never free. How can somebody who is trapped be free? Only freedom is becoming aware of the divine and willingly serving the divine. If you see, Krishna also did not impose, Krishna could have imposed another restriction on already chained Arjuna, isn't it? Arjuna was chained with 100 bonds. So he's already ensnared. Such a person is easiest to be trapped. Krishna could have very easily used the vulnerability of Arjuna and given just a direct order, do this. And yet, Krishna did not. What did he do is he liberated Arjuna. He liberated Arjuna and then very beautifully, after giving the entire knowledge of the Gita. In there is also the question of fate, free will, because Daiva is called fate. Daiva is something which somebody is, some people say this is destiny, and somebody interchanges the words of destiny and fate also. They're actually different things. But Krishna gives all of this and then tells Arjuna, Yathechasi tatha kuru, my dear beloved Arjuna, my friend. I have said all that needs to be told to you. You are now free to choose what you want to do. That is the freedom, absolute freedom given. And what does Arjuna choose? Anybody? That is the beautiful aspect of the freedom and free will is in the Gita only you can see so nicely. Fate and we look at fate aspect next, but the free will. Arjuna had all the free will to again up. This 18 chapters are over. Now I'll run away from this battlefield. He could have said that also if he wants, because Krishna didn't bind him. He said, Arjuna, you are ready. And Arjuna does say something. Anybody? What does he do? What does he do in the 18th chapter? The final chapter of the Gita. Yes, anyone. If you recollect the shloka, Nashtor moha smrutir labdhva त्वत्प्रसादान् मया च्युतः स्थितोऽस्मि गतसन्देहः करिष्ये वचनं तव. Because I exercise that free will to serve and follow you, to obey you. I am exercising my free will to obey you, O Krishna. Nashtor moha, my moha, which was binding me, which was destroying me, which was making me see that I have nothing. Well, that moha has gone. My depression and everything was because of that moha, is what he's saying. Nashtor moha smrutir labdhva. Meaning I have achieved something. I have prapta means labdha means this is a labha. A labha has come to me by listening to your words. What is that labha? I got back my smriti. Smriti means anybody. What is this smriti that he got? Did he get the entire shastras? What was the smriti that Arjuna got? Anyone? What do you think that was? Anybody? Yes? What did he remember? Anyone? Yes? Yeah, because this is important. Until we establish this, we cannot touch the topic of fate. What was this that came back to Arjuna?
What was that that came back to Arjuna? Is it G? Is that a question?
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, came back to Arjuna means you're asking on the 18th chapter.
Yeah, in the 18th chapter, this particular shloka, no, the Nashtor Moha Smrutir
Yeah,
Labdhva
I listen. Okay.
Tvat Prasadan Maya Chuta. By your grace, it has returned. Something has returned to me.
My normality, my buddhi, which was clouded by a lot of confusion.
Yeah, a kind of the realization of his full freedom in spite of the difficult situation. Alpana ji is adding something. Yes, please.
Yeah,
Yes,
he
ji.
remembered that his kartavya is to actually fight. Probably that is the
Yes.
smriti which
We can
he got
say,
back.
yes. What we can
This
say,
is
the
this
consciousness of
I have
Kshatriya.
this is not my thinking. I have referred to my chotu sa Bhagavad Gita book is which is in Marathi, which I normally read.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah, so
ji.
in there I just was reading up because you asked so many times. I
Yes.
felt really bad, and I
No,
said
no,
I
no.
have
Why?
to
What
look
is
up.
wrong? That is, this is yours only. The Gita is everybody's, no?
मला माझ्या कर्तव्याची स्मृती झाली.
Kartavya, his Kartavya,
Hmm.
or we can say he remembered what is the Kshatriya Dharma, or
Yeah,
the
correct.
consciousness of the Kshatriya returned to him, or his understanding, his realization of, means the situation did not change. Suddenly, the
Hmm.
grahas did not change in this particular 18 chapters. The moment, maybe a slight movement would have taken place. We can say Chalit grahas which had to move would have moved. And that was the point of his understanding. That might have had some influence. But otherwise, if you look at Arjuna, he says, my memory has returned to me what I am supposed to do at this moment. And because he is now conscious, because he is now confident, no more depressed, depressing situation has not left him. But he is not depressed anymore because now he is not bound by the outer forces. He has now connected with the free will that he's got inside. And what does this free will do? Well, this free will immediately connects him to the divine consciousness. And this free will is what he is exercising. And this free will comes to the front. He says, I am free. I am free to follow your words now. Is what Krishna is telling him. Karishye vachanam tava. Krishna did not order. Yet Arjuna has now But he told Shishya Steham in the very beginning, but now he understands what is the real meaning of surrender because here he is now ready to follow, ready to implement the words of the divine. I think we are all, if we want to draw an inference from the Gita, we must all exercise our free will, understand our free will, recognize that there is a portion inside of us that is really free, irrespective of what is happening around us, irrespective of what situations, whether they are pleasing or unpleasing, whatever they are. We must probably recognize that free will, we must exercise that free will to get bound to Krishna, isn't it? Wouldn't that be the best thing to do? Let us be bound to Krishna, forgetting everything else, because in the same Adhyaya, Krishna again says, Sarva Dharman Parityaje Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Ma Shucha. I will liberate you. I will deliver you from every papa. Whatever papa you think you have done, whatever prarabdha you are having, this birth, previous birth, whatever things you have done, you feel. Sometimes we carry guilt, isn't it? And that is a big problem. Because sometimes it is nature. Nature puts us in a situation to take certain steps and certain decisions. But what happens is we take that decision with a good will, good faith, and then we feel, did we take a right decision? And that is the biggest burden that eats our what we call memory space. We lose our smriti because every moment we are being tortured by a thought. In psychologists call it moral injury. A moral injury comes in. Sometimes doctors get that. They have to save a patient, whether they have to, should I pull the plug or not? And after the doctor takes the decision, then sometimes it becomes a very difficult aspect. Should I have waited? Should I have not? A friend of mine, a colorectal surgeon, he talked about it. He said, this is something which we understand many times. Sometimes we do operations and then the operations don't become successful. Then they haunt the mind. Oh, what have I done? What have I done? And then they have different mechanisms. And he says ultimately the senior doctors explain this is a part of a learning process. Human beings do make mistakes. It is not intentionally done. There's no need to carry that moral injury. Something of that sort. We must fully realize that yes, Krishna has asked this thing to Arjuna. Sarva Dharman Parit. When does he say that? He says that only after Arjuna has agreed, no, to follow. He says, actually, I'll give you a little extra about the Gita. He says, I'll tell you a little bit more. And that was where he says Sarva Dharman Parityaje. And that is something because of Shraddha. All your dharmas, meaning our mind attaches certain dharmas, isn't it? Bhratra dharma, putra dharma, putri dharma. Putri as the daughter has a dharma towards parents, son has dharma towards parents, or son has dharma towards. Like if you see dharma itself can become, take any one individual, you will find that individual is bound by so many bandhanas of so many dharmas. Upholding the dharma is right, but I think we should first uphold only one dharma, and all dharmas will automatically get upheld. That is our Krishna dharma, our dharma to the divine. The free will we must exercise. If we don't exercise the free will, what is going to happen? We are going to go against our Swadharma. We are going to get trapped. We are going to be trapped again in the Maya. And then what is going to happen? Gita talks about it. There are three types of phalas. There's Ishtam, Anishtam, and Mishram. Ishtam is it's like I want to eat mango, I go and get a mango. I'm happy if I get it from the market, isn't it? But if I go to, I don't like grapes. But I go ask for a mango and somebody gives me grapes. Have I got Ishta? No, I've got Anishta. If somebody gives me a salad with mango and grapes, what is that? Well, is 50% what I like, 50% what I don't like. That is what they call Mishram. So all phalas, karma, you do karma, karma is going to, like as Shashiji said, the theory of karma, it is there. The consequences of karma are going to be there. You will be getting this three: Ishta, Anishta, and Mishram. But Krishna says there are five factors. Five factors. That is where probably the fate aspect would come in. What is fate? And I think this would probably require us a little more time to elaborate on fate and destiny. And what are the five factors? Because I think it's already 8:20. So this aspect on fate and destiny and the role of individual free will in altering a fate to give a brilliant, glorious destiny. Is there some power? Is it possible? Well, that is something we will look at it in the next session, that is next week. But as far as the free will, yes, we have the free will to become a slave of the divine, isn't it? Don't we have that? Yeah,
Sure. We have the
becoming a
free
slave.
will to learn by ourselves and ultimately realize that let's leave it up to God and be led by Him.
Let
He
us
gives us a
become.
chance to,
Yeah,
to try and do our own thing and find out for ourselves.
yeah. Yes, but the question is now slave is bound only, no? A slave is completely bound. But
Yes.
slave of the divine is a slave of the divine, same as a slave in the Bhuloka, on the earth. Is the slave of the divine the same as a slave on earth? Anybody? Kalpana ji, yeah?
No, sir. No. We are
Why
a
is that? Ji? Slave is slave, no? If I am a slave in Ethiopia or if I am a slave in India, slave is slave only, no?
Yeah, but this is Bhulok, na? We have to become a slave of the divine.
Ha. So that's different.
That's
Do you know
different.
any slave of the divine is not going to have a good status, no? On the Bhuloka?
He may or may not.
Is it? Okay, Alpanaji says such a person may or may not have a good status on the Bhuloka. Means in the sense that person is helpless on the Bhuloka also. Means you're serving God, you're becoming a slave of God, and you're not going to get anything on the Bhuloka. You're going to become more bound, is it? Because we just saw the solution to freedom as becoming a slave of God. So is that making us even more somewhere Ahankar is there and at least that Ahankar is giving me temporarily some freedom. But what is this freedom in becoming a slave of the divine? Can such
You'll
a
be well
person be
looked
called great?
after.
Yes, Shashiji, you were saying?
I said you'll be well looked after, better
Okay.
looked after than
Yeah,
Okay,
being
you're
so
a
we
going
are
to
slave.
become an
now,
autopilot life.
Yes.
So, yeah, so that is what is meant for you. I think it will give you ananda also if you really have that bhakti. Yes.
okay, if you have the bhakti, that's a rider, no? If you don't have a bhakti, it will be the same as
No,
I
the
became a slave of this Bhagwan, but this Bhagwan is also like that saukar only how that person is. I am hardly getting food on the table. And again, another suffering. This is a full bandhana, isn't it, Alpana ji?
yeah, I mean you should have that shraddha, that full faith because you have only
Acha.
decided to
Oh,
give our free will to the divine that
so
you
that
will
was a
guide us.
contract that you made
Hmm.
consciously or unconsciously. Now you have to bear the consequences, is it? Or, but haven't we heard of some slaves of the divine? And those slaves are like almost immortal. Those slaves are exalted in status. We worship those slaves as extremely evolved divine beings.
Yes, those Chiranjeevi, like Hanuman is there. They are saying
Yeah,
that.
Hanuman. Okay, yes,
Hanuman.
yes. Again, Hanuman's strength is his slavery to the divine, which is making him a master
That's
of
the bhakti.
Prakriti. A
Yes.
master of Prakriti. Often
Prakriti.
I keep quoting from Ram Raksha that Shloka Manojavam ma Ridutulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Vatatmajam va Narayuta Mukhyam Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadde. This is the great slave of Shri Rama. How is he? Buddhimatam Varishtam. He is the greatest among the wisest. How is he? Well, he is like that. Look at the speed at which he travels. And who is this? This is the great one who is the slave of our Sri Rama. Krishna in the Gita says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. For those who have surrendered, he says, I'll give the buddhi which will suddenly give a spark in your consciousness, which will set you apart from everybody. How many such great, we have Purandara Das, Tulsi
Yes.
Das, Kabir Das. Who are all of these Dases? These are not Dasa of the world. These are the Rajas of the world, actually. They are the exalted ones. They are, even this Maran of them, people do with their folded hands only. And what did Tulsidas say about it? He says, Tulsi, Tulsi, sab kahe. Tulsi ban ki ghas. Means, what is this? This is Tulsi, Tulsi. Everybody is saying Tulsi. Tulsi is just a forest uh, grass. A grass which is like a grass growing in the forest. Does anybody put pesticide and fertilizer to grow Tulsi?
No.
It grows just like that. No, in our unit, we use Tulsi for making herbs. So we have to harvest it. But no matter how much we harvest, it keeps coming again and again. Because it grows on its own in nature. So तुलसी तुलसी सब कहे, तुलसी बन की घास, हो गई कृपा प्रभु राम की, बन गए तुलसीदास. Look at that kripa. Rama fell and ordinary Tulsi became Tulsi Das. This is how they say. Sri Aurobindo says to be servant of God is good, but to be slave is better. Because the slave is the one who has overcome everything. This is not slave to some individual, some human who is limited. This is to the slave, to the divine is the one who is now in connection with the divine, who is allowing the divine consciousness to flow through that person. Tukaram, who had surrendered to Panduranga, he said, "Well, you are my companion. जेथे जातो तेथे तू माझा संगाती. चालाविसी हाती धरून या. You take my hand and lead me like a baby is being led." Krishna in the Gita says, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paripasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. This is the promise. He is not asking you to fill some policy like nowadays one insurance company has used this yogakshemam vahamyaham to promise a very
LIC.
good
Yeah.
life insurance. Yeah, so Krishna is not saying, "I you follow me, so I will give you this policy, good returns." But he says that person who is surrendered to the divine completely, who is always thinking of the divine, that person is going to, his life is going to be taken care of. What is going to happen in the future? Arey, who is that? Who is that? Who is going to touch the future of someone who has surrendered to the divine? They say, "Jako rakhe saya mar sake na koi." The kavach is there, the kavach of the divine is there to that person who is surrendered. And that is why, if we have to understand what is free will, first thing is we will have to surrender to the divine. And for that, we'll have to first control all our desires. And the simplest thing is love is one very beautiful human emotion which allows us to transcend, to grow, to evolve at a rapid speed. So let us feel love, love for the divine. And if we feel love for the divine, do we feel hate for human beings, for fellow human beings? No, it is universal, isn't it? The divine is present in all. So our heart will start, outpouring that love, and that will allow us to overcome our limitations also. Sometimes the pull of desires we are not able to overcome. With true love, we can overcome that also. They say, Asha yae dasaste dasaha sarvalokasya Asha yasi dasi tesham dasayate lokaha. That person who is a slave of desire is the slave of the world, and that person who has made desire his slave, well, the world comes to the feet of that person because that person has conquered all. So that is, I think, one simple aspect probably. Yes, there is a free will. Let us use that free will to get free from illusion this illusion that we are doing everything, we are the doers. Let us become free from that, because if we do that, we will be able to align with the divine consciousness. And when we align with the divine consciousness, we can become participants of this great Leela of the divine. And that brings us close to that next question. Can we alter our fate? Can we write our destinies in
আপনি
life?
যাচ্ছে তো বাজারে?
Maybe individually we cannot, by our own limited self, we cannot write our destiny. But if the divine guides our hand, can we not write our destiny? Yes, that is possible. So that is what we will see in our very next session. We are going to see about what is the role of fate and what is the factor. If we understand, like they say, no, you understand the kshetra. Krishna only has told us in the Gita. Understand the kshetra, the field. Become the knower of the field. Understand the limitations of the field. When you know the operation of the field, then you will become kshetrajna, who is the expert. And the greatest expert is himself, Krishna, who is Krishna says, Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata. There is no kshetra where Krishna cannot be considered the master. But to understand that, because if you understand, then you can participate, consciously. So number one, if we were to draw a question, I mean, a conclusion to our question, can we all, do we all agree at least that yes, we have free will? Though the will of the divine is far too powerful, sometimes difficult for us to understand. We don't understand why certain things happen. But we do have the free will to align with the will of the divine, isn't it?
Yes, we
Yes.
do.
And that is the freedom which gives us shanti, which understands inside of us there is that divine. That divine consciousness is there. Let that divine consciousness in me align with the divine consciousness which is there in the cosmos, everywhere. That will allow us to reach the highest state. And also what it will bring shanti everywhere. It will spread that. Because this is the rule. Right now, if you see in the world, we are not saying shanti, isn't it? Instead of shanti, we are saying bhranti. A lot of confusion, a lot of frustration, a lot of how can we change this? Not by adding more fuel to the fire, isn't it? We got to start dousing. But how can we douse if we go as an individual? I don't think with a bucket of water you can, douse a flame that is engulfing a building, no? Instead, align with the firefighters. Help them serve you only, isn't it? And that way serve the world. It is something like that. So the divine is there. We have to first fully understand that. And then when we get that understanding that we are not alone, we are connected in consciousness. Like all of us are connected, yes. But we are connected with the supreme consciousness. If we connect with that, we get a great peace. Swatma Ramoham Bhuma Paramasukhi Paramatmaham Paripurnoham Parat Paroham Kevaloham. It is so simple. Chit Kalyanam. There's a beautiful Dharana mantra which is said many times before the Atma Shatakam. Chit Kalyanam Hrudaye Nityam Sevya Seva Seva Karahitam Praptam Paramapadam Shantam Vimala Sukham. This Chit Kalyanam Hrudaye Nityam, this consciousness I want to keep purifying. This is there in my heart continuously. When that comes in, then who is the person who is doing the seva and who is the person who is receiving the seva? Sevya seva seva karahitam. The difference is gone. And the highest consciousness of peace can come in. So the question of free will, yes, we all have that free will. Only we have to realize it that it is best to give that free will to the divine and align with the divine consciousness. It is much more easier. Like best example we can think of is somebody who is sailing in a boat. We are also in a boat of life in Mrityu Sansara Sagara. All we have to do is just change the sails. Use the wind. It may be coming in the opposite direction. Adjust your sails and let your boat move further ahead. And probably that is the answer to our question. But now the question of destiny. And how do we try to reach that destiny? That we are all born with a destiny, isn't it? Each of us is a legend. Each of us is born with that destiny. We do not, probably all of us do not know about it. But there is no age, there is no time, there is no moment which is not, like it is not possible for us to reach that destiny. It can come. Sometimes it's just a fraction. If anybody knows about Shabari, what was her destiny? Anyone? Yes.
It was moksha, no, that she wanted because she was from a
Yeah,
tribal.
moksha she wanted, but there was something else. She was destined to meet somebody, isn't it?
Lord
Destined to
Ram.
meet Ram. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it was to meet
and
Prabhu
show
Sri
him the
Ram.
marga. Yeah, how to find Sita. So she tells him about Sugriva.
Yeah, she tells him about that, and her guru had told her,
Yes.
protect
Yeah.
your body, old lady. That time will come. He had told her that. It's like Tathaiva Karam Rama Tvadyaneka Parayana. And then
Ah.
she celebrated that. Pratiksha Gamanam Tetya Safalam Guru Bhashitam. She's like celebrating that. See, Rama has come, Guru's Vachana has come true. Because he had said Tavad Raksha Kalevaram. Kalevara is a body which is like almost sounding like cadaver. Protect
Yeah.
your body till Rama comes. That is what was told by her guru, that he will come to meet you. And she is conscious and so waiting slowly, sincerely, regularly, doing her sadhana without any frustration, with the perfect samatha, with a good balance. And that allowed her to reach that destiny. And so, whatever is the destiny, we do not know what it is. But for that, we have to first align with the divine consciousness. I think with this, we can conclude our today's session. Unless somebody has something to ask or share, if you have a question, you are welcome to share it. Or if you want to share some insight, you are welcome. Or else I conclude with the Shanti Mantra. I think yes. So we can conclude with Shanti Mantra. Yes, please. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् हरि ओम तत्सत् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं पुनर्मिलामः लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू सी यू अगेन हरि ओम
Hari Om ji.
Very
Namaste
much.
ji.
नमस्ते जी हरि ओम नमस्ते जी आई कंक्लूड द
Thank you, sir.
सेशन
Hare
थैंक
Krishna.
यू जी जय श्री कृष्ण जी नमस्ते